The first time Maya saw him, she almost dropped her tray. Not because she recognized him, though nearly everyone in New York knew the name Victor Langford. The tech tycoon turned ghost after his private plane crash, but because he looked human. Not the way the media painted him. Cold, steel-eyed, untouchable. But like a man trapped in his own silence. Staring out the tinted window of a black SUV parked near the hospital lot, watching something. Or maybe nothing. She steadied the tray filled with lukewarm soup and dry crackers and made her way past him. He wouldn't notice her, and people like him never did. But she noticed things. She noticed how the driver never looked back. She noticed the untouched takeout bag on his lap still steaming, with a golden logo from one of those overpriced rooftop restaurants that served truffle foam and emotion on a plate. She noticed his hands motionless on his lap, the wheelchair barely visible in the shadows. She also noticed how tired he looked. Despite being a billionaire later that night, Maya sat in the hospital cafeteria helping Mrs. Elkins the only patient on the floor who still cracked jokes despite her chemo finish a crossword puzzle. It was a ritual. She didn't get paid for it. She didn't care. You ever see someone who looks like they're made of diamonds? Mrs. Elkins said suddenly, scribbling in a word, but their eyes look like they've seen the bottom of the ocean. Maya looked up, startled. That's oddly specific. I saw that man again today. The one in the black car, Victor Langford. Mrs. Elkins grinned. So you did notice him? Of course she had. Who hadn't? Victor had once been the face of Hopa, young genius who built a software empire from a garage in Queens, only to vanish after the crash. Rumors flew. Some said he was brain damaged. Others said he was just hiding from the world because he could no longer walk. But now he was here, lurking outside a hospital most billionaires wouldn't even glance at. Why, the idea hit her before. She could talk herself out of it. The next morning, Maya stood near the entrance, holding a simple sign. Trade your leftovers for a cure. She didn't think he'd see it. She didn't think she'd be brave enough to hold it for more than 5 minutes. But the black SUV slowed. The window rolled down, and Victor Langford looked at her, really looked at her. She didn't flinch. You're bold, he said. His voice was low, amused. What cure are you selling? No cure, Maya said calmly. But you throw away more food in a day than most of our patients see in a week. If you trade your leftovers, I'll give you something you've forgotten. He raised an eyebrow. Oh, a reason to feel something again. He actually laughed, a short, bitter sound. You think a few soup bowls and a bleeding heart can fix a broken spine? No, she said, but they can fix other things. Long pause. Then, to her shock, he tossed a sleek business card out the window. Give this to the manager at Verto Dining. Tell them I sent you. They'll arrange the donation. Let's see if your kindness makes a dent. And just like that, he was gone. At first it was just food. Trays of rich meals that once ended up in dumpsters now fed patients, shelter families, and overworked staff. Word spread. Donations followed. And somehow Maya's one crazy idea turned into a ripple effect. But what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that Victor was watching. From his penthouse cameras, from the SUV parked across the street, from a world he no longer belonged to. He watched this strange girl with secondhand sneakers and first-rate courage turn leftovers into hope, and slowly, something inside him started to stir. The first time Victor Langford cried in years, it wasn't over pain, not physical pain at least. It wasn't because of the surgeons who gave up after telling him he'd never walk again. It wasn't because of the pitying looks from board. Members who spoke to him like he was dying when all he'd lost was motion below the chest. It wasn't even because his fiancée had left, leaving nothing but a note. I can't spend my life watching you disappear. No, it was a little girl named Tasha who made him cry. He had no idea who she was, only that Maya had mentioned her once in a thank you video she sent over. The video was part of her donation impact update, a term she made up with a shy smile. It showed patients smiling as they opened containers of real food. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, tiramisu. Not the plastic-wrapped sadness that came from vending machines. Tasha was in the pediatric wing, bald, tiny, hooked to tubes that dwarfed her, but she danced on her little toes. When the nurse brought in her meal, Victor watched the video. alone, in the silence of his penthouse, the windows high above the noise of the city. He rewound the video, watched again at the food. But the joy, she was giggling, saying, "Maya said this one tastes like clouds. I've never had clouds before." Victor lowered the tablet. For the first time in years, his chest shook. Not from fear, not from anger, but something older, something raw, something real. He didn't know her. She didn't know him. But somehow, that small, brave girl reminded him of something he'd buried the night the plane went down: hope. He didn't go outside much. The public hadn't seen him in years, and he liked it that way. But that week, something shifted. He rolled his chair into the elevator of Langford Tower and gave his driver an address: East 37th, the shelter next to the church. The driver blinked. "Sir, you heard me?" The shelter was small, understaffed, and always cold in the corners. But the minute Victor entered, everything stopped. Some people whispered his name. Others stared. No one said anything, except Maya. She spotted him instantly, her face breaking into a stunned, uncertain smile. "You came," she said. "I wanted to see what my leftovers are doing," he replied. Deadpan. She laughed. Genuinely. "Well, they're keeping about 86 people alive this week. Come see." He followed her through the chaos skids and donated. Clothes chasing each other, exhausted mothers nursing infants, men staring at floors as if they could fall through them if they blinked. Yet in the middle of it all, Maya shined. He saw her bring a bowl of warm food to an old man with frostbitten fingers. He saw her hug a teenager who had nothing but a guitar and a limp. He saw her sit beside a woman who refused to eat and just listen. And slowly Victor realized this was the cure she'd spoken about. Not for spinal cord injuries, not for cancer, but for the kind of poverty no billionaire could touch. Right? Poverty of spirit, isolation, emptiness, the disease of being invisible. Maya didn't fix people. She saw them. And somehow, that made all the difference. Over the next few weeks, Victor kept visiting. Quietly, no press, no suits. Just him in his chair watching the world he never knew existed. He saw what a single warm meal could mean. Saw how food meant more than calories. It meant dignity. Maya started inviting him to speak at community meetings. At first, he said no. Then one day, he just nodded. "I'm not a hero," he said the first time, his voice trembling in a dusty basement full of cots and folded prayers. "I didn't come here because I wanted to help. I came here because someone reminded me what it feels like to matter." He looked at Maya. She didn't cry, but her smile said everything. And now, "I want to do more." But life, like the seasons, never stays in bloom. One rainy Thursday, Maya didn't show up at the shelter. Victor waited. The next day, she still didn't come. No texts, no updates. Worried, Victor called the hospital. One nurse, who remembered him, hesitated before telling him, "She's here, her brother." He collapsed. "He's in ICU. Liver failure." Victor's stomach dropped. He found her in the waiting room, curled on a stiff couch, face buried in her hands. "Maya," he said. Rolling forward, she looked up, eyes swollen, mascara smudged. "Jason's all I have," she whispered. "I can't lose him." Victor sat quietly beside her. After a while, he said, "How can I help?" She shook her head. "There's nothing anyone can do. He's on the transplant list. Could take months. We don't have that kind of time." Bert sat there for a long time, remembering the day he begged a surgeon to try one more spinal operation and was told, "Even money can't buy what's impossible." But now, watching the girl who had given so much for so long, he made a decision. Next morning, Victor activated his global network. He called hospitals, specialists, flew in a team from Germany. He offered to fund an organ transport program with top-tier logistics support. It's cutting down wait times by months for hundreds of people, not just Jason. That week, Maya's brother received a donor liver. That week, so did 4 others. Victor didn't sleep. But for the first time in years, he didn't feel tired. When Maya found out, She cried in his arms. I don't know how to thank you, she whispered. You already did, he replied. How? You reminded me that I'm still alive. 3 months later, Langford Tech announced a partnership with hospitals across the country to build community food pipelines, turning luxury leftovers into meals for patients and shelters. It was called the Cure Chain. Victor rolled onto the stage of a press conference beside Maya. He spoke simply. I used to think my life ended when I lost my legs. But it ended long before that, when I stopped seeing people. This woman, he motioned to Maya, taught me that sometimes the greatest cure isn't medicine, it's kindness. That night, Victor stood at the rooftop of his penthouse. Maya. Beside him, You're smiling again, she said. I am. Guess that. Means our deal worked? Victor laughed. I think I got the better end. They looked out over the city, lights blinking like a million second chances.